headed by one called Sheikh Ruangabo. We only have one name, he's on the run. However, we arrested two of his coordinators, identified as Kaija Ismail and Sewachirianga Muhammad. We found them with 22 other children who were brought from as far as Wakiso, Nansana, Ntinda, Kagoma, Kawempe, and Bugerere in Kayunga.
In addition to the obvious risks to children of participation in armed conflicts, which equally apply to the adults, children are often at an added disadvantage as combatants. Their immaturity may lead them to take excessive risks. They tend to receive little or no more training before being thrust into the front. Some rebel commanders tend to think that these children are fearless.
Enanga says that they have not attributed any attack to it, condemn the recruitment of people into terror, because it may not only be the young children, but also recruiting Ugandans into terror does not seem to be fit for our country. Reports show that more than 120,000 children under 18 years of age are currently participating in armed conflicts across Africa. And some of these children are no more than 7 or 8 years of age. Among the affected countries is Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Look through this in addition to the obvious risks to the children of participation in the armed conflict, which apply equally to adults. The children are often at an advantage, at an added disadvantage as combatants. Their immaturity may lead them to take excessive risks. They tend to receive little or no training before being thrust into the front line. If you'll excuse me. And some rebel commanders tend to think that the children are fearless, and that is why one of the reasons as to why they recruit more children into these terror acts. But still with that, with the 2 years that we've been with schools reopening, schools closed, rephasing of reopening, and that, this takes us back to the parents. How are we grooming our children? We need to take care of our children. We need to advise our children, because once the child is still at your home, regardless of whether the child has grown up anyway, because in the eyes of the mother, you are still a baby at the end of the day, whether you're 60 or you're 50. So you need to put that at the back of your mind. Okay. Away from that, let's move on. The Agriculture Ministry seeks for 20 billion shillings to fight the foot and mouth disease ahead of the festive season. The Agriculture Minister, Frank Tumwebeze, said that about 40 million livestock will benefit from the exercise, which will be free and conducted by the government. The Ministry of Agriculture has requested 20 billion shillings supplementary budget to procure foot and mouth disease vaccines. The Minister for Agriculture, Frank Tumwebeze, told the Parliamentary Committee on Budget that 15 billion shillings will be used to procure 4 million doses of the vaccines, which will cover 14.6 million head of cattle. Immediate beneficiaries, according to Tumwebeze, include the most at-risk districts that border national parks and districts that are long livestock traders' transit routes. These are Lango, Nakaseke, Ankole, Karamoja, Teso, Luero, Nakasongula areas. In February this year, 5 districts were quarantined by the government due to foot and mouth disease. These include Gomba, Singiro, Kazo, Chiruhura, and Sembabule. Tumwebeze said that vaccination is free, and he is aware of the losses that farmers are likely to incur if they cannot sell their animal products or live animals. Tumwebeze said that vaccination should cover 90% of the national herd and should be done before the disease starts to spread, and this is why they need the supplementary budget urgently. The foot and mouth disease, according to veterinary experts, is a viral disease of cloven-hoofed livestock. It was first confirmed in Uganda in 1953. The Ministry of Agriculture says that they need 20 billion supplementary budget, and this supplementary budget is set to procure foot and the mouth disease vaccines. According to the Minister of Agriculture, Frank Tumwebeze, he told the Parliamentary Committee that the 15 billion shillings of the 20 will be used to procure 4 million doses of the vaccines, which will cover 14.6 million head of cattle. So the other 5 will be used in the administration, during the administration of these vaccines in the various centers countrywide. The immediate beneficiaries, according to Tumwebeze, include the most at-risk diseases, districts that border the national parks and the districts that are along livestock traders' transit routes. These are Lango, Nakaseke, Ankole, Karamoja, Teso, and Luero, Nakasongola areas as well. In February this year, 5 districts were quarantined by the government due to foot and mouth disease, and these include Gomba, Isingiro, Kazo, Chibuhura, and Sembable. Sembable, according to members, said that the vaccination is free, and he's aware of the losses that the farmers are likely to incur if at all they don't sell their animal products or their live animals, because they'll be attached to the foot and mouth disease, and maybe they will actually die at the end of the day. So that is where the vaccination is coming through. Members say that the vaccination should cover at least 90% of the national herd, and should also be done before the disease starts to spread from different areas to also hit the urban settings. And this, according to him, is why we need the supplementary budget urgently. The foot and mouth disease, according to the veterinary experts, is a viral disease of cloven-hoofed livestock. It was first confirmed in Uganda in 1953. So this actually attacks, look at the goats, the cows. Those ones have cleft-hoofed. I've actually been a pastoralist, and I do goat keeping as well. Yes, so I know most of these things. Okay, let's check out the other story. Police has threatened to crack down all bars and entertaining places that violate COVID guidelines. While speaking to the media at the police headquarters, Fred Enanga says they will not only arrest but also confiscate all supporting properties from the bar. He also said that they summed up all the DPCs where he warned them of a laxity at their work premises. More of the details.
Reports show that since the vaccination rollout program is not yet fully done due to the shortage in the vaccines, this rapid drop in the number of COVID-19 deaths was largely due to the lockdown measures, which are violated on a daily basis. Police has, on this note, threatened to crack down all bars and entertaining places that violates COVID-19 guidelines.
This is a warning to revelers, bar staff, proprietors, that this evening onwards, they are likely to face serious consequences for violating the curfew and COVID-19 protocols. We don't know why people are impatient, and yet we have just 1 month to cross over into...
Speaking to the media at police headquarters in Kampala, the police spokesperson Fred Enang says that they will not only arrest but also confiscate all supporting properties and gadgets from the bars. He notes that they summoned all DPCs where he warned them of a laxity at work.
And we are hopeful that probably by January 2022, the economy will fully open, and we can go back to the previous lifestyles that we used to enjoy. So we expect that from now onwards, with this warning that has been given to territorial commanders, RPCs, DPCs, we don't expect any more laxities in their operations, because they have a duty to make sure that Ugandans are safe, and that we try as much as possible to avoid new transmission of COVID-19 in our country.
Health experts say that what is even more encouraging is that even the worst hit areas of Kampala, Wakiso and Mukono, and other cities and municipalities have started seeing a big reduction in the rate of positive cases and fatalities, saying that this was attributed to the ban on non-essential movements, gathering, activities, and the widespread use of facial masks.
We got intelligence that Drew and Jack, there's X-Hub in Nigeria, there's there are bars at Forest Mall that have been continuing to operate with impunity, and we cannot allow for this to actually continue. So the crackdown on bars and entertainment centers is going to be intensified.
In a televised address to the nation, President Museveni said that bars, discos and concerts will remain banned until the government vaccinated at least 5.5 million elderly and people with underlying medical conditions with coronavirus vaccines. He said that bars, discos and beaches and performing arts and concerts are associated with drunkards and super spreader effects shall remain closed until the country attains a better level of vaccination. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
And according to the police spokesperson, they are aware of all the different bars or entertainment places that are still active this time round ahead of the reopening that is expected in January. It is just expected. But if you look at how many bars are actually still operating, that shows people that people are actually violating the presidential guidelines. And at the end of the day, it is not where we would want our nation to be. Because according to the police spokesperson, he has actually mentioned some of the bars, and he says that they're going to be cracking them down. Not only are they going to arrest everyone in the bar, they're also going to arrest the owners of the bar. I almost said they're going to arrest the equipment, but they're going to confiscate the equipment, that is the public address systems, the speakers. So everyone attached to that, they will even confiscate the shelves where the different drinks are put, and as well as the furniture that is used during the entertainment that happens in the different entertainment centers in Uganda. And health experts say that what is even more encouraging is that even in the worst hit areas of Kampala, Wakiso and Mukono and other city municipalities have started seeing a big reduction in the rate of positive cases and fatalities, saying that it is attributed to the ban of non-essential movements. So when you look at the widespread, that according to President Museveni, he said that the bars tend to attract, and the concerts tend to attract a lot of drunkards and putting people's risks to getting COVID-19. That is why he said he's still looking into the option of reopening them. But according to what is actually happening, you could definitely see that most of the Ugandans are still merrymaking and partying like no tomorrow. Okay, away from that, let's head to the international scene to check out what is happening from the world of business. And we start from the East African community, which registers trade surplus with the United Kingdom despite the COVID-19. Despite the devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic last year, the East African community, the bloc that gathers together the member states in East Africa, recorded a rare trade surplus with the United Kingdom. The details.
While the ESC imported goods worth $503.5 million in 2020, it exported goods valued at $523.9 million to the UK, one of Europe's largest economies. Exports from the six-nation ESC bloc increased by 14% last year from $458 million in 2019, according to the East African Business Council. This was revealed hereby on Friday during the visit to the Apex body private sector associations offices by the UK Prime Minister, Trade Envoy to Tanzania, Mr. John Lord Walney. He said at the EABC offices that the UK was committed to revitalize aid for trade relationships with the ESC bloc as the region has vast endowments and opportunities. He commended the business captains in their relentless efforts to break the notorious trade barriers that could minimize the cost of doing business. Lord Walney pledged to steer dialogue between the UK businesses and the EABC for mutual trade and investment businesses. He applauded the EABC for establishing a Women in Business platform, saying the platform has addressed the concerns of women traders, notably those involved in cross-border business. On his part, the EABC Executive Director John Dosco Kalisa urged the ESC to expedite the negotiations on economic partnership agreement with negotiations for the bloc's economic partnership agreement with the UK. This would enhance the African integration agenda and the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement.
And while the East African community imported goods worth $503.5 million in 2020, it exported goods valued at around $523.9 million to the United Kingdom alone, one of Europe's largest economies. And the exports from the six nations of the East African Community bloc increased by 14% last year from $458 million in 2019. That is according to the East African Business Council. And this was revealed on Friday during the visit of the apex body of the private sector association's offices by the UK Prime Minister's trade envoy to Tanzania, John Lord Walney. And he said that the East African Business Council offices that the UK was committed to revitalize aid for trade relationship within the East African Community bloc, as the region has vast endowments and opportunities to actually put on board. And still with the international scene, let's travel to India as police charges Amazon India executives in drug smuggling case. The senior executives at Amazon's business in India have been charged after 2 men allegedly used the website as part of a marijuana smuggling operation. More of this story. Arrested 2 men for allegedly trafficking 20 kilograms of marijuana to other Indian states. And according to police statements, the men had traded cannabis on the site in the guise of selling stevia leaves and natural sweetener in India. Amazon said it was sharing information with law enforcement, and it said it does not allow the listing and the sale of illegal products, and it takes strict action against the sellers found to be breaking its rules on illicit goods. The state police said executive directors of Amazon India had been charged under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act. This was due to differences in answers in documents provided by the company in response to police questions and facts that were unearthed by discussion, police said in a statement regarding the same matter. Authorities did not say how many executives had been charged, as a total of 1,000 kilograms of marijuana worth about $148,000, which is approximately 110,000 pounds, was estimated to have allegedly been sold using the Amazon website. The case is the latest legal issue being dealt with by Amazon India's business, which is also facing a competition investigation in the country. Along with Flipkart, a subsidiary of the US giant Walmart, Amazon India is being probed by regulators over claims that they gave preferential treatment to some sellers in India. In September, Amazon also reportedly launched an internal probe after claims that one or more of its Indian employees had bribed officials. So the police have opened up charges against Amazon India executives in issues regarding drug smuggling. So Amazon India, as reports are coming in, it seems also offers some drugs on their website, on their app. You can only imagine if a drug dealer and you want to get some drugs, you can use Amazon India. Anyway, those are still some reports and allegations. And that is what we've had for you from the News Hour. So coming up after the break, it's time to talk business management. And this time around, what business is in the movie zone or the movie sector in Uganda? How is it growing? And how can one be successful in that segment? Movies coming up. This